but she kind of plays like my sister. Do you know what I mean? She is guiding me. She's like, you know, the way that Brandon wrote, you know, Kat's character, who's the producer, is he wrote it in a way that like she guides me, and she can tell me when I'm reacting poorly, like a good friend, right? Like somebody where, you know, somebody would come to you, Cody, and be like, dude, come on, you know, and you'd be like, oh, you're right, I could have done that better, you're right. Like, we all need those people in our lives. And
y'all, welcome back to the CVMK Show, where it's the best podcast on the planet. You know why it's the best podcast? I'm the best podcast host. I don't care what you say. I'm better than Shannon Sharp. I'm better than Corey Holcomb and all of them. I love them. I love Cam. I love all the podcasts out there. I love Joe Rogan. But you can't compare to me. It goes down here on the CVMK Show. It is what it is. Connect with your man. Look, we are growing. I want you to follow us. And it's up on the gram. It is what it is _show. CVMK Global. You know that's where the supplements go, because you know I'm the founder of the supplement brand. I got with us Warrior Thirst today. Need you to go follow us at CVMK Global on every platform and subscribe to the YouTube page where it goes down. One word, 4 letters, CVMK. We have an amazing show. I say this all the time, but I mean it today. I mean it all the time, but I mean it today. Matt Drago. We have a filmmaker. We have somebody who's created, I don't know if you want to say a controversial piece, but a definitely thought-provoking and thought leadership piece, and a conversation that has happened and is happening, and we don't want it to happen, but it keeps happening because we're at a pivot point in society, not just in America, but in the world. And he's got this film, and we got to get into it because I want to know, why did you do this? I mean, you could have made a reboot of Tommy Boy, you know, and got somebody that looked like Chris Farley, you know, but you went down this path, you know, but hey, we are here, and it goes down on the one, the only, the CVMK Show. When we come back, we'll be with the one, the only Matt after this. Matt, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Cody. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a really meaningful conversation. I can already tell.
I appreciate you, brother. Look, when we connected and I got the message, you know, and I go over all of them. Like I really do read all of them. Some I'm hesitant. I'm like, I don't know if it'll be the fit for this. And then I just kept digging, and and then I went to your website, and I was like, well, let me look at the content, and I just saw this. I was like, yeah, I gotta get him out here. Like this is gonna be fire. So I appreciate you, man. I want to give you your flowers before we begin. To do this takes a lot of gall. But before we go into all that, let's start at the beginning. Matt, why? Why'd you go down this path in life of being a producer, film creator? You could have been a dentist. You could have been anything. Why this?
Stories matter. Stories matter, and human stories matter. And right now, as I'm sure we're about to get into it, Cody, they matter more now than ever. And this story is why I got into acting. It was to tell stories that I felt like had a pulse on what was going on in the world, that showcased different things that we were collectively going through in our society. And I just, I'm so grateful to be a piece of somewhere in Montana, this really, really engaging film that goes to the crux of what a lot of our society in this country is really dealing with right now. And hopefully finding a way out of it. And I think that's what good art does. I think great art is always in tune with the resistance that's happening within the mechanism that is our world. And I just, you know, this is why acting always spoke to me, because I feel like human stories, they matter, and they resonate with people if you can tell them right and tell them well.
Human stories do matter. They matter a lot. I think what's happening is we don't want to hear the truth. I'm not, yes, I'm in the content creation space, but I'm not an actor. I'm not a film creator. So I stay in my lane, right? But I try to read a lot. And I saw James Cameron put up he wrote something a couple years ago. He said, I'm tired of superhero movies. There are a lot more interesting stories out there than just people with capes. And I thought that was ironic and funny. But it's true. It's like the focus is what is sellable, not what is transformative. And it's hard as a content creator to walk that thin line, because I struggle with this. And like sometimes you want to be like, man, I want to do an episode on why we need to recycle. But if you get a call from the latest TikTok, whoever, and say, man, I just want to be on the show, you go be like, you know what, scratch that recycle thing. We're going to do this. And we're going to talk about this goofy dance for the next, 3 months, because that's what sells. So you did this story. I want you to paint the narrative. This balance that you described that is obviously missing, this left and right kind of ideology motif that I guess we all believed America possessed. We were kind of, I think, spoiled and maybe naive to think we were, not as divided in our beliefs. And we kind of all felt like, well, we're all kind of on the same way. We're not like, Carson Daly MTV, but we're at least VH1. Right. And then 2008 happened, 2012 happened, 2016 happened. Then it was like, oh no, this feels a lot like we're like this than we were here. So walk us through, tell us about this story, this upcoming film, and let's have some dialogue around the why.
I love that. Yes, and thank you for all of that. I think Brandon Smith, who's the writer and the director of this film, really wanted this to be a conversation piece, and you spoke to it, but not be able to hide around a cape or a big budget, which is what a lot of films do. And listen, they sell. This is an indie, and this is why I'm on your podcast today, because it's a word of mouth film. We don't have a $50 million marketing budget. We're a word of mouth film, and we need people like you to tell people about it, for it to resonate, for people to take their hard earned money, or to be able to just put it on their streaming platform, to turn it on and give it a shot, right? Because it doesn't have the financial power behind it that some films do, and I think this film specifically for Brandon Smith, again, writer and director of this film, was really about a conversation piece. And I think that the main thing that it delved into is mutual respect, which I believe still is the highest form of love. If you can truly respect somebody and see them and really see them, and not cancel them for one thing they said online or one thing that they did once. It's like you just kind of have to get past the surface and really get to know somebody. And I'll go to the crux of this film. I play a character called Fabian Verdugo. He is a director, and he's making his legacy piece. I feel the same way as Matt actually in this film, so it was definitely very close to home with me. John Alexander, played by the incredible friend of mine, Graham McTavish. He plays a Montana rancher, and somebody that's just really for lack of a better phrase, like set in their ways, like very much like content with his. And I don't say this as a slander at all, but a simple legacy. We have to remember that everybody has a legacy in life, and it could be just raising your kids and putting them through college, or getting a nice home, a safe place to live. There are a lot of different legacies, and yes, I think that entertainers, like, their legacies are more on display, but that doesn't mean that our legacies or anybody's legacy is more important than anybody else's. And so I think this film really speaks to that, because I feel like Fabian's character is very set in, listen, I have paid you to use your ranch to shoot my movie, some pivotal scenes in it, and so I've compensated you, so you should be okay with whatever I do here. Well, that's not the case, because this ranch is something that is going to live on through my film for the rest of John's life, and the rest of Lainey's life, who is played by the incredible Kaylee Macchio. And it just shows a dynamic of the fact that everybody has a right, and this sounds silly to say, to care about their legacy. And so when, John and I meet at first, there is a lot of that, wow, these two people would never be in the same room together. Like, they would never find themselves in the same space together. And what Brandon wrote so eloquently is that we both really need each other. He needs the check from this film to keep his ranch going, because it's on financial life support. And I need this pivotal, beautiful location that has been impossible to find, to meet my standards within my film, to get a film that's also running on life support, because we're over budget on actors, we're over budget on, like, the investors and the producers are about to cut the cord on this thing, which, believe it or not, happens to a lot of actual indie movies. So it's not just like a thing that Brandon wrote, like, flippantly. Like, it's actually something that happens. I mean, there are big productions now that get completely shelved by studios that, like, you'll never see. And so, Fabian is not making a movie for fame. He's making a movie for legacy. He's making a film that he feels like is a story that needs to be told. So there's a lot of really delicious elements in this film that actually have to do with real life, in terms of the actual structure and mechanism of real film production, and especially real film production, because a lot of times you are showing up at somebody's ranch. Now, I'll go within the film. I am Fabian shooting a film within, somewhere in Montana, but Somewhere in Montana was shot on an active cattle ranch in Polson, Montana. And these are people that also were very, we'll say, at first timid about a film production somewhere in Montana coming to their ranch, because when you are in their space, and I mean, it was just an amazing thing. And I think it kind of almost started with Graham and I, because we started to have, like, breakfasts with them, and they started to make us eggs, and we started to hang out with their grandchildren, and we started to actually talk about this really important film that we were making. And again, these are people that aren't on Instagram. These are people that, like, live their lives very simplistically and with a lot of care and nurture, and they just want to go through their day-to-day life. And it was just such an amazing thing. Like, it brought me so much joy, and also fuel for my own character to, get to know these people off screen, and then to translate that and put it on screen. And, you see elements of that throughout the film, especially with my character. I think that my character does a big dynamic jump between where he is, which is very centered on his legacy, to see other people's legacy. And really what I mean by legacy is their heart, right? Like, what they care about, who they are. And I don't want to give too much away. There definitely are some curveballs, some real surprises in the film. But the crux of the film is, if there's one thing I can say to your listeners and to you, to just kind of broadcast this film, like, these are the films that matter. These are the films that people need to see because, again, you're taking two different people from two different worlds, LA and a Montana rancher, an LA entertainer, director, and a Montana rancher just trying to live his life. And you are forcing them together in trying to make something work. And it kind of speaks to, and I'm sure we'll get into it, our society at large. And I feel like this is a film where if you can give us an hour and a half and you can really sit down and see what we're trying to do. Again, this is a film that I will say the cast, the crew, the writer, director, and Brandon, our incredible producers, Eden Bryant and Joe Borden. We all knew going into this film that this was a film that was bigger than all of us. And I think we really did take that very seriously, and it did not matter who had what role or who was lighting that shot, or like everybody had such great energy on set. And I think that's where we were really able to find the magic in Somewhere in Montana.
I like it, honestly. No, it sounds Oscar worthy. I think it speaks to an issue that is so there in society. So, I was sharing with you earlier, Matt. I said, look, anybody knows me, I don't apologize for my beliefs. I'm a, Christian. I'm a believer. I'm a minister. I'm a preacher. I'm a husband. I lean center right on most issues, but I'm also not stupid. And I understand that my beliefs aren't necessarily theirs, nor can I enforce. I just don't want mine taken away. So I'm always trying to search for the balance. Like that's anytime I go into a voting booth, I'm like, all right, this thing looks a little lopsided. I purposely will vote the other way just to pretend in my head that I've created some balance, right? Because I believe that people, too much of anything is bad. Extremism is dangerous, but if you have too much plant-based protein and you never get any animal protein at some point, maybe I don't know, right? I just believe that there has to be a balance that to me has disappeared from society because we no longer view each other as not just humans that need to be understood and respected, but we've shifted from respect to tribalism, and then from tribalism to war, right? Like
it seems like we don't see, we don't see each other in totality. I think that's we see each other from the surface. We don't engage as much anymore. And a lot of it probably is to do with technology, right? It's like a lot of our lives are this, listen, I can already tell you, Cody, that like, if you were in LA or not, I was in Chicago, we would want to grab a bite together. Like I can already tell I would want to hang out with you, but a lot of people just don't have the time to do that, or there's that ease of jumping on a computer screen and having a conversation. Now, I feel like I'm with you right now, but I do think that it's the ability to want to be with people. And I don't just say like be with them. I mean like really be with them. I mean like open up to them. I think that, when I think about it, and I know I'm an actor and I know I'm, like in touch with my emotions, that's my job. But I always say it is better to feel than it is to not feel, right? I think it's actually a very dangerous thing when you, as a human being, shut off your emotions. And I think that, like, to engage people, sometimes you have to see something to understand it. And I do. There was a very tricky thing within this film because I, as Matt, like, am very much this character in many ways of Fabian Verdugo. And I made an active choice to play him big, almost like I'm playing, like, or not playing, but like almost like I am in real life. I'm a big person. I'm an Italian guy. I speak with my hands a lot, right? Well, Fabian is big as well. Graham did something which I loved, and we talked about it a lot because this was like a real meeting of the minds. Graham and I really had deep conversations about how we were going to collectively make some of these scenes work. Remember, we have a 10-page scene that's just two of us. That doesn't happen in modern day cinema at all. And it's a conversation and we go there. But I think a lot of the dynamic that actually works within this really pivotal scene in the movie is because I finally come down to his level and he comes up to mine. Yeah. It's like we really start to be at the same energy level. And that was a real crux to how we wanted to play it. Because if you notice me early in the film, I'm hyper almost. I'm over passionate. I'm over emotional, right? I'm not keeping what I need to in check. And he's kind of stone cold, right? So we both have somewhere to go. We both have places to go together to grow and find that meeting point where we can finally come together and try to have a meaningful conversation. And I think it just really does. It speaks to exactly where we are right now in America.
I like it. Look, I'm gonna dig deeper into this. I want to get into, are we incentivized to be at war? I know we got to cut to a break. We got bills to pay. When we return with the one and only Matt, we're going to discuss this film because I need to know, somewhere in Montana, like, how does Chicago fit in this, right? So when we get back, CVMK Show after this.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
Y'all got with me Warrior Thirst, the pre-workout. Obviously, this and Superpower is my favorite. I want y'all to go to www.cvmkglobal.store. Get yours. Use code CVMK for 20% off. CVMKglobal.store. And follow us. Following is free. I just want to see you follow, man. Even if you don't, no, I need you to buy. But go to CVMK Global on all platforms. You'll find us when you see the bear. You know you're there. So I think that controversy is the flavor of the day. For whatever reason, right or wrong, if it bleeds, it leads. That's the old adage, right? And right now, it feels like, particularly just coming out of the political whatever that just happened, right? Like, it was a real us versus them. The problem is us, the understanding of us doesn't mean us, right? Like that, like you'd have to ask, well, what is the us and who are the them, So but it is this line that has been drawn in the sand that is what is fueling, I feel like, media, business, and to the point that it's always been there, but now it's morphed into something that is beyond toxic, and I can't quite put a finger on it, right? But it seems a little bit lower than what we should be operating on, right? So for you, like, I'm listening to you talk, and from Fabian's character to the rancher's character, I'm just trying to imagine, what does the tipping point look like, right? Because, like, if I'm playing the rancher, I'm playing this, rancher in Montana, I'm thinking, shotgun, Ford pickup truck, over 6 feet, real rugged, chews tobacco, goes to, Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church, son of a deacon, like, I just feel like there is a set persona, and I can only imagine coming in contact, West Coast, vibe, just whole thing. This is like, what is going on here? When do they see each other? as like, even though like, dang, we don't agree, but that's really like, we're the same, but we're not. But like that, but I see him now. When does that moment happen? Or does it happen?
Well, first of all, I gotta get some of that superpower. That stuff looks awesome. I think honestly, to get to it, I feel like it's when we start to truly embrace each other and try to understand each other's power. Right? We all have power. Not to link it on your, but that commercial was awesome, man. I'm looking at some new workout supplements. I might have to get some of that. It looks pretty good stuff.
Just follow us, man. Follow us on the grill, man.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. I think it really comes to us both reacting poorly. And, I spoke about my friend Kaylee Macchio, who plays Lainey, who's John's daughter in the movie. Michelle Hurd plays like my producer, but she kind of plays like my sister. Do you know what I mean? She is guiding me. She's like, the way that Brandon wrote, Kat's character, who's the producer, is he wrote it in a way that like she guides me. And she can tell me when I'm reacting poorly, like a good friend, right? Like somebody where, somebody would come to you, Cody, and be like, dude, come on, and you'd be like, oh, you're right. I could have done that better. You're right. Like we all need those people in our lives. And Kat is that for Fabian, and Michelle ironically became that for Matt, because Michelle, I can't say enough great things about her. She is a dynamic force of love and power, and I'm just so grateful that I got to be in a film with her. That's as an aside for Matt, but like I just have so much admiration for her, and I think we found that as as a character development, is that Lainey on John's side and his friends, and Kat, who is like my sister, kind of my guiding light, they are the people that insert themselves to try to get John and I out of ourselves, or at least out of what I call our reactionary selves, where we are just reacting for the sake of reacting. Some of that is real life theater, and we all do it. You know what I mean? Like we all, in real life, we overreact to things in ways where if we could just rewind the tape, almost like we do in football, right? Where it's a busted coverage and you're like, oh man, he wasn't going for the out route. He was like thinking that he was going to get the hook or, whatever. And you watch the tape and you're like, oh, he needed to fade back with them a little bit more. And, he just was one step off, and that's why the touchdown happened. Sometimes you have to replay the tape in real life. And I think that is what they both do for us collectively, Lainey for John and Kat for Fabian, is they give us the opportunity to say, hey, you both need each other. Yeah. And it's a post that I'll actually share on my stories, and I'll tag you in it, because it was the pivotal moment on set, and it was a very, very dramatic day. And I don't want to give anything away from the film, but it's one of the crux scenes in the film. Is Matt realized like again to a very deep degree why this film was so important and what it was, and it's just a picture of four guys on set, but it's Brandon, the director writer, it's me, and it's Graham McTavish and David, the real life owner of the ranch. And essentially Graham is playing David, and I, in many ways, am playing Brandon. And it's the four of us. And, what I said in that post is that, regardless of our differences, at the end of the day, we need each other. We truly need each other. And we forget that a lot of times. Yeah. We forget that because we take things for granted. I mean, like, I'll speak to, this because it's an active cattle ranch. Like, I eat steak. I enjoy like a good steak dinner every once in a while. Could I do what that cattle rancher does to put that steak in front of me? Absolutely not. There's absolutely no way I would ever be able to do that. And, you know, without giving too much away, I mean, like, I stood on the sidelines and watched what they did one day on a cattle ranch so I could take that in and understand why we need each other. Because once you get it, you can't unget it. But this is a film that goes right back into that. It's like, you know, we're both showing up for the first time, John and I. You know, I'm studying the fact that he's showing up to this, what I consider important meeting, even though he's just at work, right, on his ranch. And he's showing up and he's got this gross, like, you know, like thing on. And like, I'm in my suit and tie ready for a business meeting. Well, he's at his job and I'm at mine, but we don't need to judge each other, right? Because we need each other. And again, I need his ranch. He needs the money. We are in a place right now where if we can just disengage from those negative feelings that we feel, right? And a lot of it stems from social media. A lot of, you know, social media is good, but social media is bad too if you don't see it for the tool that it is, right? And I think, you know, we're close enough in age where I think we see social media more as a tool than a way of life. And when it becomes a way of life, then you start to like really feel like you know somebody from a post or something that they said that maybe isn't the way that you would have said it, right? And so as an actor, I brought a lot of cancel culture to my character's development because I do feel like sometimes cancel culture goes way too far. And I feel like then you are maybe missing out on an opportunity to really see somebody, right? And if I had stuck with that, you know, in this world of playing Fabian and just canceled John for from the beginning to the end of the film, that wouldn't have netted anybody anything good, right? That would have just been the ultimate disaster, and we would have learned nothing from the film, and it just would have been like, why did they even make that film, right? We're going into this because we are really trying to figure out where we both went wrong. And I think a lot of it like is a societal issue where we see something, we react, and that's it. And then we're done. Yeah. And when you are immersed in a relationship where, again, we need each other, that picture, and I'll tag you in it. Cause again, it's not like, it was just a day where like, I just like started to cry because I was like, wow, this is like, as Matt, a film that I've always dreamed of doing. I got Brandon a gift at the screening last year, and you know, on the back I said, "Thank you for the role of a lifetime." You know, Matt Drago, Fabian Verdugo, on this beautiful piece of wood that has somewhere in Montana. But it's like that was my gift to him because of what a gift he gave to me in terms of my emotional development, not only as an actor, because it ignited me as an actor. Obviously, I want to keep telling stories like this. I've got my own production company. There's things that live on through me with Fabian, with getting to present Fabian, but it's also because of this story. The story is so rich because, and again, especially right now, and I know we're going to keep talking about it because it really is that story that needs to be told. And if you just give it a shot, you'll see like, wow, these two people are never going to get along. There's just no way that these people won't just become mortal enemies. Like, this is a shit show. These people shouldn't even like honestly try. They should both give up, right? And where it leads is down this path of listening and being supported by the people that are seeing both of us outside of ourselves and seeing that we're both overreacting. And I cannot say enough good things about this film. I just really pray that people want to go see it because, again, for me, it's like it's not about the numbers. It's not about like it's about this movie. Like, Somewhere in Montana is just a movie that if you give it an hour and a half of your time, you're going to come out of it being like, maybe I could have been a little bit like kinder to that person. I did say something really nasty online. I don't really know that person. There's so many little things that you can take out of this film if you're really taking it in, and again, not watching it while you're probably like on your phone, which is what a lot of us do, right? Is if you really take this movie in, you're going to realize you come out of it like giving more people a shot, right? And maybe letting more people in. And if we can really truly do that, I do believe there is a path forward for us, even right now with what we're against. And it doesn't feel like it. Believe me, I understand. Like, I get that. But there is a path forward for us if we can take the approach that Fabian and John took, because they had so much support from, Lainey and Kat, to bring people together. And it really just starts with listening. It starts with really, really seeing people for who they are. And again, respecting them. And that's the truest form of love.
No, it is. And I think, man, you hit it on the head. That's the gospel itself I was thinking of. I said, Jesus spends very little time in religious settings, and all his commandments deal with human relationships. Not all, but most of his commandments deal with that. And then as a reflection into our relationship with him, to the Father, right? So that's interesting. You said something. You said they both needed each other. And the steak example is perfect. I don't think we realize that because we see each other, as we would say in Chicago, as an op, right? As an enemy instead of as a partner, it's actually economically going to tear us down, right? Because you can't be siloed in this. I think what's happening is, I call it the Frankenstein thing, right? So on one hand, we got cancel culture, you can't sneeze, everything is offensive. And so what this does is it creates the adverse effect, which is, Frankenstein, which is boogeyman, which is, oh, I can't say this. Well, I'm gonna say everything, so, and you got two like meteoric, just whatever, I was say anatoms, just masses of material always colliding, because nobody is seeing the other person. And it's like, oh, my side, no, my side, no, my side. To the point that I think it's going to eat away at the creativity of even media. Because instead of taking the time to watch a film that you really have no connection with, you'll just dismiss it as, no, I'm not watching that. And maybe that's why what you brought back earlier, the superhero thing is so, always does well, because it's another world. It's another universe. It doesn't really speak to us. There's no guy in a red cape, Batman doesn't exist, right? So we can gravitate toward a fictional character in a fictional universe because at least symbolically we want to be good. But the truth of the matter is, a movie that's actually going to prick our hearts and is actually going to make us say, I might have been wrong, isn't not desirable. It isn't marketable. And that's dangerous for us. I know we got to cut to a break. And I get back, I know we're running out of time. Matt, I want to go here. I want to talk about, all right, so we got the film. I want to talk about how do we get eyes on it, but at the same time, like, as an actor, and this is something I wanted to ask, how do you get out, like, once the role is done, how do you separate yourself from the character? And the reason why I ask, because every time I hear, actors, and they talk about, I played a role, it took me this long to prep for it. It's like a part of them was given to the role, and when it's over, there's almost this void, like, because they become it so much, right? So I want to talk about, what does that healthy separation look like, after a quick word from our sponsors.
I literally just tried the best pre-workout on the planet. With Superpower pre-workout, you have increased focus and a power boost every single time you work out. It's not only packed with 225 milligrams of caffeine, but it also has citrulline and creatine. It's insane how much energy and focus I had during my workouts. If you're ready to take your workouts to the next level, then ditch your current pre-workout and get the Superpower pre-workout to be your own hero.
Y'all, Superpower. I'm telling you, it won't let you down. You won't crash out. If I wasn't doing a podcast right now, I'd be at the gym. So I need y'all to go today, www.cvmkglobal.store. Put in the cart. Use code CVMK for 20% off. Matter of fact, I think I have the code. Is it CVMK Holidays for 30% off? It's just to the end of December. But I want y'all to go follow us on social media, CVMK Global. All right. So,
hey, I just did a leg workout and I needed some of that, man. I was struggling.
hey, look, Superpower, man, get it today, man. Get it today.
All right, yeah, I will.
I appreciate it, man. So, character. I always say, we play who we are. I heard Denzel Washington say he was more like the cop in Training Day than he was like Malcolm X. He was like the best part of me wants to believe that I was more similar to Malcolm, but the truth of the matter is, knowing me, I'm actually more similar to Frank Lucas and to the cop on Training Day. And I thought that was interesting because it's like you gravitate toward what you are, even if it's a contradiction of who you are, or it's a opposite. There's something internally that speaks to you about this, right? So in this role here, how do you think it's made you different, better, or do you think it's had now this kind of lingering effect that is like, I got to get to the next thing because, I can't stay in this mode?
Well, you had talked about letting go of the character, right? And the fact that some actors are gravitationally pulled to some characters more than others. But I think that's the real challenge and real joy that comes out of acting, is finding the ways that you are similar and really, really latching on to these. I didn't have to go very far for Fabian. For me, legacy has always been something, as Matt, that has meant a lot to me, and telling good stories as an actor, and now branching into my own production company has always been very, very important to me. So I felt like I didn't have to go that far in terms of like his makeup as a human being, right? Sure. And so it was just really allowing myself, even with my acting teacher, at one point he said, you need to just forget the name Fabian Verdugo and just be Matt. Matt is enough, right? And that's not going to be the case for all roles, right? You have to find different ways to, and especially when you're playing a real life person, like you had mentioned with Denzel and Malcolm X, there's a lot of work that you have to do to embody that real person, right? Fabian Verdugo is not a real person. He is a fictional character that I and Brandon have created together. When you spoke about giving the role away, I'll tell you specifically, it was devastating. The last night on set, my last shot in the film is actually, ironically, me walking out of the theater. And every time Brandon yelled "cut," I started to cry because I knew that it was over. My part of the film was over, and that was a really hard thing to emotionally deal with because of how much I just loved the character that we built together. And again, that goes back to all the times that we spent on Zoom together. And I get emotional even thinking about it right now because it was so simple. But to be with a writer and a director, and like really, he just was the ultimate collaborator in really figuring out how much and how I could bring a Matt to this role and what he needed from the role. And it's what I said, and I have a video of it, of I as I was rapping and I'm a wreck, I'm crying, and I said, Brandon, I really just hope that I gave you everything that you wanted. Like, honestly, because that's the rules, that's the role that we are given as actors, is we want to make sure, and again, it's even more important for me because this is a personal role. This is a legacy piece for him, right? So he is, in a sense, Fabian Verdugo in many ways, and to have his wife Judy on set and to really be able to check in with her to make sure that I did the justice to the work that he saw, that he felt like, he cast the right person, that he felt that there was somebody that couldn't have been more committed to this role, that he felt like I left everything on the table, is what I wanted that last night. And it was still devastating. So the way that I was able to let go of it the next day is I did. There was one more day of shooting. And afterwards, it happened to be my birthday on July 1st, the last day of filming for Somewhere in Montana. And it was such a special thing I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Is afterwards, everybody sang happy birthday after we wrapped on the martini shot. I think I actually have a video of that on my Instagram too. And I'll put that up there. But everybody just kind of like did this like bridge, and I ran through it. And I took a dive into Flathead Lake, and that's some cold water. And I just felt like I released the character in that moment. And I felt at peace with what I did and all the work that I did, because I did a lot of work on this character. But it really, honestly, it just came from Brandon's script and his love of the character and his love of this story and how important it was to him. And so for me, it was always about like just giving him everything that I felt like I was capable of doing. And at the end of it, really being able to look at him and him look at me, and him saying what he did say that night was, you did everything I asked you to do, and that's literally all I wanted at the end of the day, was to make sure that I was giving him everything and giving the story everything that I had as Matt. Also, I have a really good friend, Andrew Roa, who plays Bob, and he kind of is like my real life Bob in the story. And he's kind of one of those people that just kind of looks at you and kind of tells you like we're gonna do this and you need this. And he's my real life golfing buddy. So he took me golfing the next day. It's the first time I ever hit an eagle in my life. So he said that I needed to do something completely out of being on set, right. It's like he just wanted me to know that I did my job, be proud that I did my job, and let it go, because that is something that's very important for any actor to do off of a role. Is we really do we a lot of times we fall in love with our characters. I fell in love with Fabian, like I really did. He spoke to me in a way that no other character in my life has ever spoken to me. And I think the way that I told Brandon this is that the reality is, for this character specifically, is he really, as much as I've let him go in terms of me giving away the character, he also has become a part of me. And he's become a part of me in the way that now I have the need to produce my own films with my production company, and to also my production company, Dragon Hunter Productions, is our real goal is to give stories to the little corners of our country that feel voiceless, because I think that is a very powerful thing to give people right now. I saw firsthand when I was walking around by myself the day after the premiere, which was amazing. I was just like doing a little bit of shopping, and people would stop me in the street, and so many people said the same thing. It meant so much to me to have a story told about our little corner of the world. And that's like, it gives those people power, because it gives them a voice, it gives them representation, and then it creates less dissonance between an LA and a Polson, Montana, which are night and day. It creates less dissonance between a John and a Fabian. And I'm running into a tangent, but I did want to say one more thing about this 10-page scene, because we've had just this amazing conversation. And one thing that Graham and I did specifically with this 10-page scene is we made it a point that this was going to be a real conversation, and that it was not going to be over dramatic in any way, shape, or form. The reality is, you don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with everything. And that is the crux of there are parts of that conversation where I disagree with him, but I tell him my side, and then he disagrees with me, but he tells me his side, and we listen, and we agree to disagree. That's okay. We're never going to agree on everything. So there's this really powerful conversation about like just kind of two people that are thrust into this position where, they have to make it work, and the people around them supporting them making it work, and us finally listening to each other. And again, not agreeing with everything, but finding that mutual respect for each other where we could really look at each other and just say, okay, like we can be okay. And I feel like that is the way forward for us right now, as a society, as a people, is just understanding that you can walk away from a conversation and not hate the person for feeling that way, but just understanding that that is a perspective that you don't have. But if you engage on the things that you do have in common, there is always going to be more in common that connects us than could ever separate us.
That's true. That's true. I always say this, man, disagreeing is not hate. Look, you can disagree and still shoot hoops and still work out. Like it doesn't, that's just one thing. You ignored all the other 99% things that you agreed upon over one thing, right? Matt, this has been a pleasure, man. It's been an honor. It's been my highest honor, man, to have you on the show, man. Where can the people watch the film? Where can they connect with you on social media? Where can they follow you?
Absolutely. So I stick with the Instagram. I can only do like one social media platform well. So follow me at Matt Drago, MattDrago, at Matt Drago. I've got all my links, my link tree up there. That's got my IMDb. It's got my website if you want to see my past work. But that's basically the place to start, because it's all up there. I kind of made it simple because, again, I can't do too many social media platforms. So at Matt Drago, you'll see my production company. Also got a website for that too. Dragon Hunter Productions and mattdrago.com. And the film is going to be released in theaters January 10th. Select theaters, but then it will be on streaming platforms. I will keep everybody updated through my social media, so follow me there, and I will let you know where it lands on the streaming platforms. And again, Cody, thank you so much for having me on today. This was honestly just such a meaningful conversation for me, and I could tell it was going to happen even before you hit the record button. It just this is how films like this and stories like this get told, because it's word of mouth through platforms like this. So I really thank you for giving me the platform and being on your show today. It's been a pleasure.
No problem, bro. Look, y'all connect with Matt. Hit him up on the DMs, man. Connect with him. IG, Matt Drago. Go to the website, and when it comes out January 10th, if it's in the theater near you, look, there are 1,000 superhero movies. I'm sure before this Christmas stretch, this holiday stretch is over, there's gonna be a new superhero that's gonna roll out on somebody's platform. Take the time to say, hey, pause for a minute. Let me get back to real world issues. Watch the film, support the films, because we need content like this, because it makes the world a better place. And if we don't get to the point that we can engage with civility and understanding, then all is lost. So I need you to go check out Somewhere in Montana. Follow Matt Drago on IG. Hit him up in the DMs. Tell him, hey, bro, I saw you on the podcast. Encourage him. I love what you do, man. Give him a shout out, put it on your storyline. And if you want to keep seeing amazing people like we have on today, you know what you got to do. YouTube, one word, 4 letters, CVMK. Instagram, CVMK Global for the supplement brand is what it is. _ show for the podcast, CVMK33, CVMK Global, basically everywhere. Snapchat fan base. If you put it in, you'll see it. You'll see the bear. If you see the bear, you see the little bear, you're in the right place. And until next time, guys. Thanks.